if you go to an interview and you don't have, nervousness in your belly and a little bit of a dry mouth and kind of sweaty palms, you're probably not serious about the job. You're probably not.
Do you want to know how to crush a sales interview and get the job? In this video, Jim and I talk about practical sales interview advice, how to improve your sales process along the way, and sales training tips that you can implement right now. If you're excited, stay tuned to the end of this video.
How you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet.
Jim, here is a question people ask so often, and I thought you'd have a phenomenal answer of someone who's, handled multiple employees. People often ask, what can I do to crush a sales interview where I'm getting a job as a car salesman, as an insurance salesperson, as a salesperson at any of those venues? What can I do to show up at that interview prepared well and ready to be a part of that team? So today I wanted to ask you, you've interviewed people for years, you've had experience with that. What would you say are some standout characteristics? I know before we've talked about how people dress, right? The attitude they show up with. Let's talk through that process, because many people hear this podcast, right? They watch this YouTube video and they think, I'd love to get into sales. How can I go to a sales interview? How can I get moving? And how can I show up and show them that I'm ready to get this job?
Okay, well, first of all, you don't show up. Showing up isn't the answer. You have to be prepared. You said that word a couple times, prepared. So you've got to be prepared. And so I'm not going to just show up. If I have an interview a week from now, I'm going to start doing my research today. And so I've got this interview a week from today, and I'm going to start doing my research. So I want to know a lot about the company that I'm interviewing for. This is the only company that I'm interviewing with. This is it. And maybe I am going to interview with 10, but for the purpose of this particular interview, this is the only one. And so I have to focus on that one interview. A lot of times we come across to the person that we're talking to in terms of wanting to get hired, we're just kind of dropping off applications, right? And we're just going from person to person to person. And, the question you have to ask yourself is, as an individual is, well, how impressed would you be if somebody did that to you? Like they come in and they're looking for a job and they said, here's my application. See ya. The idea is you're going into this interview to sell the person who is interviewing you on why they should hire you. I feel like I'd be way
more impressed if somebody said, oh, Jim, we saw last month that you guys sold 100 cars on the lot and your competitor only sold 86. Like, I want to be a part of this team because I know that you guys sell cars and I want to help sell cars too. Right?
Yep. Yeah, my friend bought a car here. They love the way you treat them. Matter of fact, they bought 3 cars here, and they sent a couple of their friends here, and they talk just volumes about you folks. And so, I'd like to be part of this team. So it's just like preparing, to sell cars, for example, or sell insurance or sell real estate. Are we prepared? And I said, it's like preparing for it, but are we really doing that? Are we prepared? So think about the interview, right? So we're going to go do this interview. I would say probably the first step is to do a whole lot of research on the company and just act like as if you really want to work for this company. If you did, wouldn't you know more about the company than the average Joe? Because you're trying to shine, right? You're trying to shine. There's 10 people applying for the job. You want to be the best candidate for the job. So how impressed would you be as a person who owns a company or who manages a company, or your position is to interview people for a job? How impressed would you be if they knew some different things about the company that really resonated with them and with you? And really, when you think about it, with the internet and social media and whatnot, how much time does this take? I would say probably to do a proper interview in terms of research and taking some notes and everything, it might take an hour, 1 hour. That's it. So I would be prepared to make an impression on the person that I'm with, that I really want to work with them because I've noticed these things about your company, and I have to do some research in order to figure that out. The second thing is, how do I show up? Was I out drinking the night before? Well, that wouldn't be a good idea, would it? I'm not implying that that's what people do, but if you did, Let's say you were out drinking until 2 o'clock in the morning. You've got this interview at 11 o'clock in the morning. I mean, how are you going to show up? Remember, we're showing up for this interview, but it's not a question of showing up. It's a question of how do we show up? So are we prepared, right? And I've said this before, like, I don't have a problem with purple hair. I don't.
Right.
But perhaps maybe the person doing the interviewing does. And if I really, really want this job, I want to consider what kind of an impression am I making? A lot of people wear tattoos today. What's wrong with when I go to the interview wearing, if my arms are covered in tattoos, which, I don't have tattoos, but I don't have any problem with people having tattoos. I know a lot of good friends and people that I work with who have tattoos, but I don't. And so I'm potentially hiring you, and you're not presenting yourself as well as you could be. So what's wrong with just wearing a long sleeve shirt and for starters, and then what's wrong with wearing a suit and tie? Well, it's a janitor's job. Okay, but there's 10 people applying for the job, and you're the only one with a suit and tie on. You're the only one that has asked me questions about how this works and how that works. You're the only one that's gone the extra mile. You're the only one that showed up early for the interview, which is another point I'm going to make. You showed up early. So what time is the interview? 9 o'clock. I'm showing up a quarter of, because it's possible that on the way to the interview I could get in a traffic situation, and I might even shoot for a half an hour early, because I can always bring a book, and I have my notes that I've written about the company, so I can study those while I'm waiting. But I definitely want to show up early. I want to make sure that my hygiene is proper. I mean, did I take a shower? Am I shaved? Am I clean shaved? A lot of us, today we go around casual. I got my hair cut this week. I haven't shaved this since then, but I'm not applying for a job. If I was, this would be shaved. This would look neat. I might even lose the beard, depending on, how bad I wanted this job. I mean, the beard may not be something that makes the best impression. It's possible. And so if I want the job bad enough, of course I'll get rid of the beard. Of course I'll get rid of the purple hair. Of course I'll cover up the tattoos if I want the job bad enough. That's the question that you have to answer as the person interviewing for this job, is how bad do you want this job? And if you want the job bad enough, then you have to show up with a message, with a very strong message that, hey, I'm your guy. I'm your girl. Once you and I are done talking, you don't need to interview anybody else, because I'm the person. And that's back to the point that we've talked about so many times, which is bring more value to the hour, right? If I can bring more value to the hour, I'm going to get noticed. So what does that mean? In simple terms, it means the job pays $7 an hour, but I'm going to bring $15 worth of value to the hour. So, the toilets have never been so clean. The garbage cans have never been so empty. The floors have never been so spotless, and I talk to every single client that walks across my path. And how are you? Can I get you anything? Do you need anything? I try to help out my team members. I just am always working on more value, more value, more value. And over time, I will get noticed. Well, would that be a refreshing way to approach the interview, to come in with more value to the hour of that? The interview is going to be half an hour, 15 minutes. So if I had the attitude of, I'm going to bring more value to this half-hour interview versus the other 10 that don't even think in this realm, I'm going to get the job. I'm going in there to get the job. And so I'm going to do the very best I can, do my homework, and then I'm going to leave. And I'm going to send that person a thank you card, right? Thank you so much for talking to me. A handwritten thank you card. This literally takes another 5 minutes, right? Handwritten thank you card. Much appreciated. Maybe shoot them a text if I've got a cell phone number. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. I met with a good friend of mine yesterday, and I literally am driving home. I get a text. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. That leaves an impression. So we're trying to make an impression on this person who is potentially hiring us, and whoever makes the best impression is going to have the best shot. And I could probably think of several other ideas. Attire. I am going to show up in a suit and tie. I don't care what the job is. I'm going to show up in a suit and tie because I can. Right now, I may not have a suit. Do I have a sport coat? I don't have any ties. Okay, can I wear a sport coat? Okay, I don't have a sport coat. Can I wear a nice shirt and a nice pair of pants? No, I'm not going to wear jeans. It doesn't make the best impression. Do I have a pair of shoes that I can wear that are more dressy? Yeah, they're kind of worn out. Can I polish them real good and make them look good? Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm going to respect that. I'm going to respect the fact that you maybe don't have all the money in the world, but you've made the effort to clean your shoes, your socks match, you have a nice pair of pants on. No, they're not brand new. You have a nice shirt on. No, it's not brand new, but you've made an effort to make an impression. And by the way, that's becomes a story in of itself. It's a very emotional story. So I'm in this interview, and I say, I would say to the person, if I didn't have the money for a suit and tie, which is possible, I would say, if I could interrupt if I can interrupt you for a second, Derek, I wanted to tell you something. I really think I should have a suit and tie on right now. I
Mhm.
really do. But you know what? I don't have a suit and tie. And I really think I should have a nice pair of pants and a nice shirt. But you know what? I don't have a nice shirt. I don't have a nice pair of pants because I've really had a difficult time lately with this, that, and the other thing. And so I made myself look the best I
Yeah,
can.
that's
But
really
I don't
good.
want this to be a reflection on my job performance for this job. I want you to know that when I do come to the dealership and I do what you tell me to do, which I certainly will, that I will, with making money, work on cleaning my act up. I know I don't make the best impression today, but I want this job so bad that I did the best I
Right.
could. And I got a little bit of a tear in my eye as I'm talking about this, right? And maybe there's a story behind why I'm having such a hard time at this point. That doesn't. I don't want to be overly dramatic in terms of losing a job because I come across as being less than talented, for
Yeah.
example. But maybe there are some hard times that could be discussed in this venue. But the
Yeah,
bottom line
and you
is,
make such a
what
good
can I do
point,
to make the
right?
best
Because
possible impression?
as the
Brush
interviewer,
my teeth.
a salesperson's
Hmm.
representing my company, right? A salesperson's representing the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, right? And that salesperson
Right.
may be the only face that they see. They may meet a
Right.
manager, they may meet the finance officer, but really, that's the main person to them that represents the entire company or brand that they work with. So, think about it from your perspective, right? From the interviewer's perspective of
Correct.
this person's going to represent my company, my team, right? I want to hire somebody who's dressed well, who presents themselves well, and is ready to
Yes.
learn. No, you don't
Yes.
have to be perfect, but is willing to learn, willing to step up, and willing to be prepared and have done their homework, right? You talk a lot about doing your homework, right? And it's just the idea of how do I be
Right.
prepared so that next day when I go into that interview, right? I've taken that week to prepare. I'm ready the night before. I've gotten the sleep I need, all the other episodes that we've done, and I'm ready to show up uh, with preparedness in mind.